Okay. All right. So we are finally on step number 19. We are calculating the cost of customer acquisition, which the acronym for is Coca. So, hello, awesome entrepreneurs. I am Chelsea Sposit from Cleveland, Ohio. I have been medically licensed as a cosmetic therapist since 2008. I combine this knowledge with my business skill set to specialize in building successful medical practices catering to cosmetic and wellness services. Last fall, I decided to return to university to pursue a degree in neuroscience to better understand the scientific aspects of the mind-body connection. My goal is to create a protocol for chronic illness patients using a self-acupressure technique called EFT to alleviate the physical symptoms caused by a psychosomatic response. I want to give patients the option to heal themselves by healing their mind. This radical idea is what landed me a spot in the inaugural class for healthcare innovation at MIT and Harvard Medical School. Our quote for this presentation is from Henry David Thoreau, an excerpt from Walden. The cost of a thing is the amount of what I will call life, which is required to be exchanged for it, immediately or in the long run. So for this presentation, I'm going to go over an outline of the important key points listed in the book Disciplined Entrepreneurship and the adjacent Disciplined Entrepreneurship workbook, both by Bill Aulette, that we are all familiar with. And again, we are on step 19. So in order to estimate the cost of the customer acquisition, you must determine how much it costs to acquire a customer over the short term, medium term, and long term based on your sales process. So what do we need to know for this step? Again, just like LTV, your numbers from this entire process are going to go into play for your Coca. But most importantly, the last step, the previous step, step number 18, mapping the sales process to acquire a customer is going to be the lead up to the Coca in combination with that LTV. And all of those calculations and the formulas and the steps to determine this can all be reviewed in the book in depth, in detail, and in the workbook as well. So some tips and tricks to calculate the cost of customer acquisition. The first one is to pay attention to detail. The book says the cost of the customer acquisition, Coca, is an extremely important metric and can be difficult at first to understand and calculate. This step explains the Coca in detail, but you will need to pay close attention to the details to calculate it correctly. It requires a significant amount of effort and systematic thinking in medicine, systematic thought. Do not skip or skim this step because getting Coca right is both critical and challenging. So just briefly go back to the LTV when, we were talking about this being kind of one of those, put in your due diligence, really put in the work, really. This is like the nitty gritty. You have all the information, but you just have to sit down and you have to calculate it. Or if you have someone calculate it, you really need to understand it thoroughly through and through and pay attention. Make sure that there are no math errors. Make sure that everything is calculated right. Now, yes, this is still an estimation, but we want to get as close as possible. So number 2 is be careful with bottom-up Coca calculations, as they tend to be significant underestimations. A bottom-up analysis that factors in all these other expenses tends to get messy very quickly and can create a false sense of accuracy. A completely accurate estimate of the cost to acquire one new customer is hard to project. So make sure that your calculations are based on data. Make sure that you have really just done your research, talked to people, really gotten out there and made sure that these are as accurate as you possibly can get them for the time being. You can always adjust them later, but it's best to kind of just do it correctly the first time and get as close as you can. So number 3, calculate your Coca with a top-down perspective. So a more effective way to calculate an accurate Coca is to tabulate your aggregate sales and marketing expenses over a period of time. Then divide that by the total number of new customers you acquire within that time period, since the Coca time will vary over time as your sales process changes and your organization is in the learning curve and you develop a strong positive word of mouth within your target group customer. You should calculate it over time. So basically what this is saying is use real data, be patient, start collecting the data, they even have, for service-based businesses, they have scheduling system that has all of these demographics in there. It calculates basically all your new customers, how much they're spending. It really makes it easy, and it makes it easy to update in the future when you need to reevaluate. So we want to look at how to reduce your Coca costs, because this is going, anytime you reduce the cost of customer acquisition, you're leaving more room for a higher profit margin. But remember, that does not mean cutting corners, just to be very, very clear on that. So it shouldn't interfere with any integrity of your business, but you could definitely save some pennies. So your business should seek ways to reduce the cost of customer acquisition to make the business much more attractive. Here are some common ways this can be done. Number 1, well, very powerful, use direct sales judiciously, as it is very expensive. Hiring a team to do direct sales may be necessary to start, but it is very expensive. As an alternative, consider investing instead in technological enablers, from telemarketers to having an effective web presence to engaging through social media, in order to decrease costs as much as possible. Honestly, with this one, I found is you don't necessarily have to pay to build up your business. You just have to have patience, and you have to be willing to put in the effort. So I am pretty familiar with some specialists in SEO and web-based appearances and building your web presence without purchasing Google AdWords, without buying your way in. And really the best way is to actually start batching your material. So go ahead and write 6 months worth of blog posts. That's the best way to get free traffic to your site. is once a week, a minimum of once a week, and it has to be consistent. You don't want to start and then stop. It has to be consistent, a minimum of 3 months. I would even recommend doing it for 6 months, once a week, a blog post. Connect those blog posts to your social media accounts so that they automatically go out. They automatically go to your email list, and you don't even have to worry about this because it's pre-planned, and it's something that you're building organically. So you're building, the followers that are your customer, that are your target market, that are your end user, that are your persona, because you're being really specific. You're writing about things that are passionate to you and to the company, and that's going to attract, when you keep in mind that persona, that's going to attract those type of customers. So, and like I said, batching is a lifesaver, because as entrepreneurs, our life is so hectic. Things come up all the time. Opportunities come up all the time. I don't want to act like this is, like a negative thing, that that obstacles or things are coming up all the time. But, our lives are definitely in a state of flux. So number 2, automate as much as possible. In the book, Bill says, whenever possible, try to automate the customer acquisition process, even if it requires significant investments. You can promote your product through sites where there are big networks and opportunities to make your message go viral, from Facebook and LinkedIn's network effect to Amazon's preference engine. These are great channels through which details about your product can be shared. Definitely, invest in like something like Hootsuite or Buffer, that you can literally batch out, same thing, 3 months, 6 months, at least do a month in advance. Don't do less than a month in advance for social media and blog posts. You want to be prepared. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if you're going to have a meeting and you can't click that button to post, and then you post at the wrong time and it throws off your everything that you've been building up for the past few months. So just invest in it, if not only just for the peace of mind that it is something that's stable, it's something that's consistent, in your business, when at the beginning, it's it's very inconsistent. And in the book here, it says it may require significant investments. You can blog for free. It's the cost of a website. It's your time that you're putting in, really. These automated, like MailChimp, these automated emails, you could do for like $35 a month. I think like Hootsuite is maybe like $15 a month. Now, I mean, these costs add up, but see what works, what works out. Shop around. If you can buy the website off the bat, the hosting site for, say, like a few years instead of just like a year, and you're going to save money, like look into that. This is going back to knowing your numbers, knowing how much you can actually afford. And then number 3, improve conversion rates and sales. So always focus on improving the conversion rate from your leads. As you see in the bottom up calculations, there's a huge cost associated with chasing deals that you don't close. Get higher conversion rates on leads opens up the funnel, so more deals go through, increasing your revenue and decreasing your Coca. Conversion rate is definitely something that you want to keep track of. And like I said earlier, a lot of these software systems now, they do track this. And I know in like corporate retail sales, when I used to manage those back in the early 2000s, you know, they tracked every single customer that came in and then how many purchases were made. So you want to do that. You want to know where almost your money is leaking. You want to know where your weaknesses are. Definitely don't lay all the sales, you know, just on yourself. We're entrepreneurs first. Sales people, you know, sales tactics kind of come naturally to us, or I wouldn't even use the word tactics, but sales modalities. But, you know, we don't all necessarily have extensive training in marketing and sales, but that doesn't mean that you can't hire someone as supporting a member who is more charismatic, or, you know, can work the crowd a little bit better, that can really make sure that, you know, everyone you talk to is purchasing something. Obviously you're not going to have 100% conversion rate, and you know, you don't want to take that personally, but I'd say you want a minimum of about an 80% conversion rate. Otherwise, you need to reevaluate what you're saying, what you're doing, and how you're presenting yourself. So number 4, decrease the cost of leads and improve the quality of leads. Getting a bunch of business cards at a trade show may get you a lot of leads, less cost per lead, but they are probably poor quality leads. You can reduce the cost of leads without sacrificing the quality of the lead with techniques like HubSpot's inbound marketing strategy, incorporating tools and techniques into your sales processing that increase the quality of your leads, and paying attention to where your leads are coming from will improve your conversion rate. So I'm not really familiar with HubSpot's inbound marketing strategy. This was the example given in the book. But what I can say is, you know, it says incorporating tools and techniques into your sales and process to increase your leads. You know, go places that you know your persona or your end user or your DMU are hanging out. You know, you have this profile. Go to those places. Market at the same places that they're marketing at. Go to dinner at the same places that they're going to at, and just talk to people. You know, go after your target market and make sure that when you are spending money on leads, that it is very targeted, that either you do your research or have somebody, you know, who is familiar with, say, like A/B split testing for social media ads, you know, someone who's experienced with making sure that the demographics are aligned, and that the response rate is correct, because you may think, say, like a hashtag is popular, but just because it has like 1 million people tag it doesn't mean 1 million people follow it, if that makes sense. Just definitely pay attention. Any advertising you do, you want to make sure every single person that comes through your door, every single person that contacts you for a sale, whether it's a product or a service, like, how did you hear about us? You know, this is important, because this information is going to determine, when you reevaluate your next quarter, where you're going to allocate your resources. You know, are you going to cut off the magazine that hasn't been getting you any leads and put more money into the Facebook ads that are bringing you, you know, 5 to 10 calls a day, you know, or vice versa. It might be the print ad. It just depends on where you are. And, you know, I have done a trade show before. I've done a trade show for other businesses, and I've done really well. And then I invested. It probably cost me around $6,000 in total for that trade show, and I'm not even kidding you. I got a few leads, and they were not my demographic, and they did not buy. It didn't work out. That was a learning experience for me. You're gonna have that when you're starting out. You have to do trial and error, and you're gonna lose money. But eventually, if you pay attention to it, you know exactly where to target. You know exactly which print ad to post in and when to post on social media, on what platform, all of that. You just have to pay attention. So number 5 is speed through the sales funnel. By focusing on the speed at which the prospects are moving through the sales cycle, you can decrease the sales cycle, which will have a dramatic positive effect on reducing the Coca. So I'm not sure how much we actually went into a sales funnel. So I actually kind of disagree with this. Yes, for sales, you do want to obviously get to the end of the sales funnel. So if you think of like a funnel or like a megaphone, something cylindrical that is smaller on one end, so that would be visually your sales funnel. And you want to start with, what ropes them in, what makes that initial call, and then how you upsell them throughout the process to get to where you really want your target customer to be purchasing and where the real money is, the big bucks. I would say don't speed through this. I would say, don't go at a snail's pace, but if you push too fast, you may lose them as well. You may come across as too aggressive, but really just read the room, read the energy, read the customer, go with the flow of that, and go with your own speed. Okay? So number 6 is choose your business model with Coca in mind. So the design of your business model can dramatically affect your Coca. So choose wisely and with calculated intent. So this is interesting because you're picking the business model before you're actually picking the Coca. So, but really we've been talking about Coca this entire time. Like I said, we have all the numbers, we have all the information. We've just been building up to it. It's just Coca is putting it all in one place. So just something when you reevaluate and revisit certain steps is next time around is really focus on that Coca. Number 7, word of mouth. The biggest driver of reducing Coca is a positive word of mouth about a company and its products. This tends to dramatically decrease the sales cycle, decrease the customer's desire to push you for discounts, and bring in well-qualified customers who already are good fits for the product. So salespeople can be much more productive in dealing with them. Many companies today, large and small, attempt to drive this by measuring it to use the Net Promoter Score Index and system. They carefully track this and report it in their operations, executive, and even board meetings. Bonuses are tied in with the belief, validated in real life, that this is a good proxy for the strength of word of mouth to come from your customers. Word of mouth is the best way to always to build a business. It's what everyone strives for, is to not have to spend a dime on advertising, and you just get a word of mouth. The only thing that I want to raise caution to is when you do have somebody that is acting on word of mouth and they're coming in to purchase now, they're impulsive. They're like, oh yeah, my friend told me about it, or my colleague told me about it, my business partner told me about it. be cautious of those who already know everything, and want it now and want you to take their money now, because a lot of times, you haven't told them and set up their expectations. Their friends who are giving a completely biased, although good, but biased opinion on the matter, may overinflate. They may have like this grandiose, like sense coming off them as they're just describing how amazing your product or service is, which is great, but just make sure that you match, that you understand, and you and the customer are on the same page for the expectations, so that you don't, so that it's not ending up sabotaging you when, in case they're not happy because they were expecting all the same results that their friend had, which were just so fabulous, but they're a completely different person. And you thought, a lot of times we think, oh, well, I can just go ahead and cut right to the chase. No, still go through those steps, still talk to the customers. I have people do this to me all the time, I'm semi-familiar with, say, a procedure that I'm looking into, and they automatically just like bypass like a whole consultation, and I'm sitting there as a business from business mindset being like, seriously? Like you couldn't have taken 5 minutes to explain it like in your own words? So just make sure, keep that in the back of your mind, just to have at least the miniature conversation. I know we get excited as sales coming, but make sure those expectations you are on the same page. And this kind of ties in with the last one, number 8. So stay focused on the target market. Always, always, always target market, persona, end user, but really target market and persona. So staying focused on your beachhead market from the earliest steps of this process and not getting distracted by customers outside of your chosen market, even though they want to give you money, that's my little side note, will help improve word of mouth and also make your sales reps much more productive. They will become experts in their industry, and the sales cycle length will decrease. Repetitive selling to the same DMU and process to acquire a paying customer makes the sales rep much more productive, thereby decreasing the Coca. So basically, like these last two are really saying, these last two steps, number 7 and 8, are really saying that if you focus, you keep focused, you're going to build this image around your service or your product that literally just attracts customers who are willing to throw their money at you because they've been so informed, because you've thought of every angle, you've thought of every question, you've thought of every hiccup, and you've put that information out there, you've shared that information, and they're just willing to jump in. But the important thing is you have to stay focused on that initial target market, that initial beachhead market, the initial persona, okay? Keep that in mind. And to summarize, what the Coca? At this point, you have completed the important steps in determining whether the financials of your business will work. So fingers crossed. The LTV and Coca analysis can kill many new businesses by identifying problems early in the process. Now, that is a blessing in disguise as much as you don't want it, but saves you in the long run. But more often, it also highlights the importance of keeping an eye on key factors to make your business successful. It provides a simpler scoreboard than financial statements and allows you to make adjustments and refine your business. It makes your path to success more transparent. Don't let your optimism blind you into doing the calculations. make the numbers real and not what you want them to be. That last line is so powerful. Make those numbers real. You know, don't just, these are not imaginary numbers. These are not irrational numbers. We're disciplined entrepreneurs. We are taking calculated, strategic risks. Okay. And, you know, when you write these things down and when you organize them, you're visualizing them, you're connecting your senses, you're seeing it, you're thinking it, you know, everything about the visualization and putting like the pen to paper is real. And that really, it really is a milestone and a foundation in any business when you have something that is laid out and it's organized, and you can easily, you do the grunt work at first, and you put in this effort, and you show that you're showing up for the job, you're serious about this, you're passionate about this, you know, you have the capability of getting it done, you know, and getting it done right the first time, or not necessarily right the first time, but done the first time. So really just, you know, when you show up and you do the work and you make the numbers real, instead of just letting all these numbers from the past 18 steps just sit there unorganized, you know, you're showing yourself, you're showing everybody that you're actually taking this seriously, and in turn people will take you more seriously. So thank you for joining me today. I am currently available for a short Q&A session during this live event. If you would like to connect with me after the 24/24 event, I can be reached on the LinkedIn address shown below on the screen.